We start our journey with Martin Sloan, a 36-year-old New York City advertising executive driving his very nice car to a service station. Dirt roads and everything in a convertible, not the greatest idea. And apparently this may be New Jersey because it's a full-service gas station. And this is when he realizes that his hometown of Homewood is not very far away. Since his car needs some work and he has some time to kill, he decides to head over to his old hometown because it's walking distance. That's right. Martin makes the trek and enters a drugstore. He talks to the clerk about ordering an ice cream soda with 3 scoops. Apparently in 1959, you could get ice cream sodas at a drugstore. Hey, I'm here to pick up my metformin, and while you're at it, give me a scoop of Rocky Road on a sugar cone. He's shocked that it is only a dime still for the ice cream soda. He even recalls Old Man Wilson sweeping the floors and states, "May Old Man Wilson rest in peace." He even gives the man at the counter $1 whole. The man behind the counter then heads upstairs to tell Old Man Wilson that they're going to need some more chocolate. That's right, rest in peace, Old Man Wilson. He's there. Then heads further into town to explore his old stomping grounds. This is a bit familiar to him, and he talks about the families that lived in town, and then he runs into a small child. After playing marbles for a little bit, he mentions the house across the street, which the child still calls the Sloan house. He wonders why they would still call this house that, and he says his name is Marty Sloan. The child says he knows Marty Sloan, and he is not Marty Sloan. He then wanders into a park, where he reminisces for a bit, telling a woman all his childhood stories, including the carousel, and carving his name on the bandstand when he was 11. And then he sees a young man carving on the same bandstand. He runs over and sees that that boy is carving Martin Sloan and questions him if he is Martin Sloan. The boy says yes and runs away, and old Marty chases him. Old Marty then goes to his old home. Marty goes to the door and he recognizes his parents when they answer, and he truly doesn't understand why they don't recognize him. They think he's crazy and they just shut the door in his face. A neighbor tells him to come over and check out his new car, and Marty realizes this is an old car but brand new to the neighbor. Marty then creepily walks around his old house at night, finding a baseball mitt, a bicycle, all of his childhood toys. His father confronts him, and he's curious how this man knows all about his son and wants to know who he is. Martin then sees his mother and runs up to her and tells her many things that only a mother would know about her son. And his mother responds with a slap in his face. He then runs away to go talk to young Martin at the old carousel. He sees young Martin and chases him around the carousel for a while until young Martin falls and hurts his leg. Young Martin is held by an attendant as old Martin tells him this.
I only wanted to tell you that this is a wonderful time of life for you. Don't let any of it go by without enjoying it.
Old Martin then says aloud,
Won't be any more merry-go-rounds. No more cotton candy. No more band concerts. I only wanted to tell you that this is the wonderful time for you. Now, here. That's all, Martin. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Martin's father approaches as old Martin sits sadly. Martin's father found his wallet and now realizes that he is actually an older Martin Sloan. Knowing that Martin is from the future, his father tells him that although he knows what's going to happen, he doesn't want to know and needs him to leave, and there's no place for him there. His father empathetically looks at Martin and asks him if where he's from is so bad, and old Martin believes it is. But his father gives him some fatherly wisdom advice, tells him that maybe the merry-go-round and bands playing right in front of him, and to just stop looking back and look forward. They say their goodbyes, and Martin heads off into the drugstore that he was in earlier, realizing that now the drugstore is in his modern time. He finds out that his 3-scoop ice cream is now 35 cents. Oh boy. That's inflation for you. And Martin then gets up to leave. He realizes that he has a limp now. He heads back to his car, knowing that he can never go home again. So there it was, Doc. Walking Distance. And I know this one holds a special place in your heart, I believe, and a lot of people's. So just first impressions, just go. We haven't talked about this. So
I'm
what do you
so
think?
happy I watched this again. I probably have watched it a dozen times, and it's another one. Every time you watch it, it just gets better, especially as you age. And we're going to talk about that. It's obviously a theme, and it's one of my personal favorites. You know me, Buck.
Yeah. You know what? Buckle in, because I feel like this might be a long one, because I have so many things that I want to talk about. I'm probably going to forget about a few, little stories, things like that. And I think anybody who watches this episode, you could play this episode in front of, I don't know, a group of 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Well, maybe they have to be 30 or 40, right? And older.
Sure.
This episode, and you're going to have conversation. Things that nostalgic things or whatever it might be, because you can't shake nostalgia, right?
No.
Yeah. So it's special. It's special. And I've had a couple in the last week after I watched this, and I thought about, which is odd. This episode really makes you think
In a good way.
in a very good way, in a reminiscent way.
Yeah. I get that melancholy feeling that is not necessarily bad.
Yes, and we'll get into that a lot more. But before we get into that, when we get into all our talking points, let's tell everybody right now, Doc, you are the expert. Let's talk about the actors.
I'm just the expert between you and I. I'm no expert.
That's not hard. I mean,
let us delve into the realm of these performers, exploring their talents and unraveling their intricacies on this stage of shadows and light.
Let's talk about those actors. And Gig Young played Martin Sloan, and pretty much flawlessly, in my opinion. Could not have picked a better actor. His work was amazing. And Gig Young, tragic story. That could be a whole other episode that we could do just on him. He of course did win the Academy Award in 1969 for They Shoot Horses, Don't They?
Thank you.
And before you start, Buck, no, that is not about what happens when a horse finishes last at Delaware Park.
I was hoping.
He was nominated a couple times for the Academy Award, Come Fill the Cup. And if there's a Hitchcock connection, I'm going to let you know, Buck.
Yeah, of course you are.
He was the editor in Rear Window, uncredited, but he called Jimmy Stewart, had a few lines. Nobody ever knew who was on that other line, but it was Martin Sloan, Gig Young.
That audience into a state, and then they'll get angry because you haven't provided them with any relief.
Yes, and Martin Sloan, Doc, I don't know if you want to get into it, but his tragic end, maybe we touch on that for a second here, or no?
Sure. Yeah, you can take over.
Yeah, well, what we know, I believe, I don't know the years and everything like that, but he basically, I could be wrong here. This is me off the top of my head. He unalived himself, didn't he?
Yeah, and his newlywed wife, they may have been married, we'll say 2 weeks. And I'm sure somebody out there is going to correct us, but killed himself in his apartment. Just had troubles with the bottle, but he hit the ball out of the park here.
He really did. I mean, talented man, and obviously had demons. Whole thing. You're right. Well, you know what? Let's check that off. Well, let's do something about him. Let's find out more about him. How long after this episode did that happen, Doc?
Well, this episode. What? This was 59. I believe he committed suicide in the early 80s. So he won the Academy Award since then. And
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
have to mention, he was also in a movie with Elvis. He was in Kid Galahad, the boxing one.
Now, wait a minute.
I don't expect to wait. The thing for us to do right now is get straightened out. You're here for one reason, to train for a fight, and you'll take your orders from me. One of those orders is keep away from Rose.
Elvis, I believe, has come up in every episode here, but Doc.
Right.
So we know Doc's favorite. And one day we will get that Jailhouse Rock video, and it will be up here of Doc doing his Jailhouse Rock Elvis in 8th grade.
Moving on, Frank Overton played Mr. Sloan, and he was a very familiar face at the time. I mean, we talked about it in our first episode. He was on Wagon Train. He was on Bonanza. He was also on an episode of the Hitchcock Hour.
Here we go with Hitchcock.
And that was it. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about the scenes that he had with Gig Young were some of the best in the whole series, in my opinion. One more actor that I think should be noted just due to the significance is Bill Irwin. He played Mr. Wilcox. And to get the longevity of this guy, he was in a Hitchcock Presents, here he goes again, in 1956, and he was in a My Name is Earl in 2006. In between that, he had about 250 credits. I mean, including 3 other Twilight Zones. This guy should, we're putting him in the Hall of Fame.
We should do that. We should have we should. I'm learning this now from you. That is funny. 3 more, and obviously we're going to see it. We're going to see a theme here where Hitchcock presents Twilight Zone. But where would actors go that are basically, let's just say, almost stage actors instead of like, oh, just go do this Western or this father-driven, sitcom? Real actors were stuck probably either on Broadway or not stuck. It's, sounds terrible, but
at the time,
or waiting for a movie role, which how many were there back then? How many shows? But then you had like real meaty acting parts in the Hitchcocks, in the Twilight Zones.
And go on to IMDb and look at the credits for some of these folks. And I'm having so much fun just looking at it and just discovering new bodies of work. It's fantastic. And with that said, this is one of my favorite parts, Buck.
Yes,
we are filming this currently. And who are your stars? I'm curious. You always have some off the wall ones. I can't wait.
Okay, well, so let's go at it right now. We're casting. Yes, we are.
Ready with the shot, Mr. DeMille.
All right.
First actor I'm going to go with for Martin. This is going to be a weird one, but I have a lot of respect for this kid. I say kid, he's probably my age, but I say kid. And that's Jason Segel. And I like his talent. And I know he writes. I know he, does like music stuff. I just think he's a solid like actor. I don't want to say he's Vince Vaughn, right? A different kind of actor. But Jason Segel, I feel, could be that guy that could play like either. I'm going out on a limb here a little bit and saying Jason Segel because he doesn't have that slick back hair, brooding charm.
No, just he could play a regular guy, like an ad executive, like Martin Sloan, just burn out, drive.
And you'd feel for him. I always go towards a little bit of the comedy thing.
My entire acting style is based on Kermit the Frog.
Wow.
I think it's a talented guy that would get a shot and he'd be good at it. So I went with him. Now I'm going to go a little bit crazy here because if you didn't know, and I'm sure the fun fact will come out, and maybe this is going to be a thing.
I think we duplicated.
Oh no, we didn't. Did we make the dad Ron Howard?
God.
No, we both did that. This is fantastic. We don't talk about this before the show. I really thought I was coming up with something that was going to be clever.
I thought I was going to be original. No.
Yeah,
For those
me
who
too.
don't know, Ron Howard, not to steal Buck's thunder, as known little Ronnie Howard, even before Andy Griffith's show, starred as the little Wilcox boy. And Buck and I had a mind meld, and we both thought it'd be clever to have Ron Howard come back and play the. Oh my gosh! And we
This
don't.
is
We make this
fantastic.
thing. We
This is
don't. We,
real.
we don't
Yeah.
talk to each other about who we pick because we want to have. We just don't. So that's wild.
I was about to say before we went that let's see how many episodes we can go before we run into the same character. And I thought it would go well. And I definitely didn't think it would be me taking the little boy, you as well, that's in it for about 3 seconds and saying, wow, this would be cool. But, I'd say great minds think alike, or maybe just not so great minds think
Maybe not
alike.
so great.
Yeah, that's funny. So I have Ron Howard down, but I did have an alternative, not because I thought you might do it. If we went a little bit older and the guy's acting style, I felt if I got rid of Ron Howard doing it because he was the kid and doing it, his acting style, I felt John Voight all day long.
Wow.
Very John Voight-ish.
He's a better actor as he's older, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You stay the hell out of this, Billy Bob. This has nothing to do with you.
So that's who I'm going with. Doc, we already know one of yours, so you might have to be on your feet here. I threw the John Voight at you, but Ron Howard. Yeah, I love it. I love it. But why don't you tell us about Martin? Who you got?
Very dynamic actor, David Tennant. You may know him across the pond, Broadchurch. A lot of folks know him from Doctor Who.
No second chances. I'm that sort of a man.
He's in 2 current shows that I just found out. This is why I love this job, because I'm finding out stuff all the time. He's in 2 current shows right now. I just think he has that inner dialogue would really work with him, and just he can tell a story without saying anything, and just whether it's entering in the soda shop when he knows what's going on. Like, I think Tennant could pull that off all day.
He is my European, because he's English. I believe he's English, right? I don't want to say that.
Scottish.
Scottish. You know me. I'm an ignorant American, even though I wear the hat. Now, he is my Sam Rockwell over there. I'm a little bit upset, Doc, that you took him this early, because I really had him in my pocket, which I didn't know you were even a fan of. That he is amazing. I watched something. I wish I could put it up there. Maybe I will on screen right now. Who knows? He was in like a murder one where he played a drunk detective.
I think Broadchurch.
Yes.
Broadchurch was amazing.
Yep. So he is fantastic. He's fantastic. And the other one with the supernatural one with the other great actor there. Yeah. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Well, he's a Burgess Meredith for me too. He's
Yeah.
Sprinkle him in, or is he my Bill Irwin, who's also in 4?
Yeah. That's a good one. Good poll. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. So those are the actors we have in there. Now, Doc, I know you love this. One of my favorite parts, so we can just go back and forth a little bit. Fun facts. Give me some fun facts. I'm dying to hear them.
Fun fact, I was rejected from Scientology, so.
You said this episode was going to be a little bit longer. I had to edit myself. There were so many fun facts about this episode. This is one of Rod Serling's most personal episodes. Got the idea when he was walking around, once again, a deserted backlot at MGM Studios, and he just had a feeling of nostalgia for home. It was an old-timey set, and he just kind of felt that longingness to go home. And he actually created this from a park where he grew up in Binghamton, New York, called Recreation Park. And the carousel is there. I've actually made the pilgrimage myself to Recreation Park, and there's a bandstand. There's actually have a plaque for walking distance. The carousel, not an exact replica of what was there when Rod Serling was young, but the fact that the carousel itself is still there, and it has cool scenes from different episodes of the Twilight Zone on the panel, on the panels as it goes, just drawn scenes. So Rod Serling had a very, and we get to see it throughout so many episodes, just a yearningness for the time, for his childhood. And also, and I called you when I think I video chatted with you this past August. There's a Rod Serling statue that got dedicated in Recreation Park. Again, it all gets back to this episode of Walking Distance, and we'll put some shots up there. It's if anybody ever gets the chance, there's a lot of fun and just amazing things in Binghamton that you can check out if like Rod Serling and the Twilight Zone, which hopefully most of people are. In August, there's the Rod Serling. It's the Serling tribute every August.
Is it there?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
in
then
and around
we'll
all the town. Yeah.
Then we'll go. We get enough people, and we'll bring them there. It'd be really cool to meet everybody out there and talk about. I'd like to go. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
that is fun, and you hear Rod all the time. It's always something that happened to him, which I understand and I'd never be like even consider myself a writer at this point, but I have written. But you're talking about Rod Serling. Everything comes from something. It's not, you write something and it's like, oh, that means that they're gonna, you see the craziest thing in the world and you're like, I'm gonna write about this, and where would I be coming from then? I write about being a supermodel woman, doesn't mean I want to be a supermodel woman, but maybe it means that a supermodel woman I met and I went into her head with little things, and it seems like all the time that he has these things, and this is a simple one, but Tom, this was a simple one. Nostalgia, going back, simple in the nicest form. He hit up everybody's real thing where you can't go back.
No, and we'll get into that in the fun and the symbolisms, and I got to throw at least one more fun fact at you, Buck.
Absolutely.
We don't talk enough about the score in the Twilight Zone, and it is shame on us. Every episode in the first season, excuse me, was composed by Bernard Herrmann, who you may know from such films as Psycho. So what's that? Is the over under on how many times I'm going to mention Hitchcock each episode? Like 4 or 5?
Yeah.
But how he composed it. If you listen when he goes back home, it's kind of violins and just has a very almost, again, melancholy feel. At the carousel scene, like the craziness, it's the cellos, and it just adds to like a super high intensity, which as the viewer you're watching it as Martin Sloan is feeling just that high intensity, and the music goes so hand in hand with it. And the score in this one is actually used in a few other episodes. This is that we don't talk enough about the score in the Twilight Zone because we think, oh, it's just background music, but there's a reason for every note in it, and it's just amazing.
I apologize because I did have a note that I wanted to bring up, which I don't think I did. I'm almost positive I didn't in this second episode with the bookman there. When he was going down the stairs, and that really the music, and I had a note in there that said, "This is we get introduced to music telling a story."
Yes,
we've incredibly lost, and some of them are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But the music tells a story, and as simple as one as Bookman going down the stairs, and you hear like you know what I mean. It's not quite Benny Hill, but it's there. I have that as a note, and I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed that, and I have the note on this one too. We got it, and my note is we have to talk about the music. So we're on the same page here, Doc. But the music really it sets a tone, and you had to lean on that back then. I think they should still lean on it because you don't have CGI, you don't have crazy special effects.
No, you have the carpenters in the union putting up sets and tearing them down within minutes.
Yeah, the transitions weren't like things like, hey, let's just put a big blur in a
No,
you know, it's like they're watching you go through a tunnel and you gotta create
it
that
gets back to that whole play scenario where it's like a stage production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I'm sure we'll talk about it now and we'll hit on it.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed it, you've noticed it, but it might not be in your front conscious mind, but you've noticed it. Everybody out there's noticed it. If we could turn the sound off, just the dialogue, it'd be a different show. It'd be a different show. And good for Berman, was it? Berman, you said that did it?
With an H. Herman.
P B
with an H. Bob. Bernard.
Herman?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was combining that names as Berman. It's Bernard Herman.
No,
I call him, friends of his call him Berman. It's fine. We don't know. We're buddies. Yeah, we're buddies.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I could go on and on about the fun facts for this episode, but I really needed to highlight Recreation Park. And there's so many fun facts, but we have so much else to talk about.
We do. Let's go with Symbolism. You know, I love that one.
Symbolism is just too delicious.
Yeah. The mirrors, man. It's you hit the nail on the head when we were talking about the mirrors in the very first episode. Where is everybody? I believe you brought up mirrors. And in this episode, we're at the gas station. In the first scene, he's buying the cigarettes. Wow, a cigarette machine. Remember those days?
Yeah.
But he sees himself. Martin Sloan sees himself, and that's kind of when things start. He doesn't know yet, but that's when things start to turn different, and could be like kind of like a through the looking glass kind of thing.
Yeah, no, mirrors, reflection, right? Everything's reflection. Right. And I have a note on that too. Yeah, mirrors totally. And yes, I do remember the cigarette machines in the bowling alley, and I remember press for matches. Remember, you used to be able to get matches when you were a kid.
Oh yeah.
Burn down places, and I don't know, what's the statute of limitations on arson? I can say that's now, right? Yeah.
Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah. So yes, man, you pull the thing out. So now think about it. Wow, we had cigarette machines that a kid could walk up to with a couple quarters.
Sure.
Buy cigarettes. But yeah, no, reflection. He's always that. He's always about time. He's always about reflection. Now I'm going to give you one right now that, I try to dig into things and make some crazy sometimes statements about this.
Love it.
The merry-go-round. So remember the merry-go-round? And what happens when the younger self falls off? What's he do? He's walking slowly backwards. He's going back while the merry-go-round's going forward. And all the kids are weirdly looking at him. It's actually a weird scene if you watch it. So I believe that's him going back while it's moving forward. I think that merry-go-round kind of shows like, yeah, we're all going forward. And you might go by it again, the same place, but you can't run backwards on the merry-go-round. And I believe the merry-go-round is a big symbolism as our life goes around and maybe you end at the same place, but you can't walk backwards on the merry-go-round.
That's hey.
Yeah, listen, I always reach for something there, but I really watched the scene again when he's walking, and it's really odd how the kids are looking at him, and I feel like that was direction. How the kids are like kind of just like weirdly staring and
that was
barely looking.
It was odd, and I didn't know if that was some type of almost like a funeral or something. Like it was seemed like they were in a procession of some kind.
Exactly. Because I think he's walking backwards through his life. It was unnatural. Yeah. I think, or maybe the kids were just terrible actors and they were hungry because they didn't eat.
That could be it too.
Yeah,
they didn't take care of the child actors back then.
But but I feel like mine sounds better. So
well,
I'm look at it.
I like it.
Watch that part and think about it.
I like revisiting each episode after we talk about it, and then checking out what you said, and trying to wrap my head around that. I'm also thinking that we can never step in the same river twice, no matter how it flows. We might want to think like it's going to be the same, but it's never going to be the same. No matter if you walk in the river in July, it's not going to be the same area that you're going to be stepping in. And that's an old Greek philosophy thing. And that could be just, and again, I know you like to go out there. That's me kind of going out there that it's never going to be the same, even though you may want it to be July 4th, stepping in the ocean, stepping in the river. It's not. It's December 15th and it's freezing cold.
I played a part in a play one time. It was an original play, and not to go too much and bore people about it, but I thought about this play when I did this, and maybe people think this is interesting. It was about a young attorney who was a hotshot attorney. He ended up just becoming a paralegal, even though he was like this biggest attorney around. That's the part I played. And because he wrote a book, and you find out he wrote a book on how to look at life the way a child does. And he lets one person, this beautiful woman that he's working for, he's a paralegal for this big, beautiful attorney. And of course, his love story kind of. And he lets her read it. And she reads it. She's so dumbfounded by this person after she read what he wrote, because she learned how to look at the world the way a child does. And now think about that real quick. And I remember when I did the play, very good play, by the way. I really liked it. There's only 3 people in it, and it was really good. I really liked the concept. If you read something, you got a manual on how to look at the world like a kid does, without the scars and just life that's happened to you, and the sky's the limit, and the irresponsibility, really, right? Because you didn't have any responsibilities. That feeling you had, if you could teach that, if you could bottle that up, it would be amazing.
It would be.
And I thought of that play. The guy ends up being a jerk, kind of, because they want to sell it. He wanted to give it away, and he just proves a point anyway. Blah 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 blah. But I thought of that play when I played that character, because I really was like, oh my God, I have to play a character that really has found the key. And when he put it out there, obviously everyone in the world, you'd be the biggest seller in the world if you could bottle that up. You'd be, talk about selling books or whatever he was selling. And being a person that actually had that in him. And that's a hard thing to grasp, right? As even an actor thinking,
sounds like a good play.
An adult but still have this and talk to her like, no, this is how I see it now. And have that nostalgia, that feeling. Smells do that for a lot of people, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I was in a Chinese restaurant today, and now I'm rambling a little bit. I'm going to do my Benny Hill part at this point. I was in a Chinese restaurant today, and I used to work at a Chinese restaurant takeout place when I was like 15. Gave me $5 an hour. I'm dating myself now. $5 an hour under the table. It's a big deal. It was on the side of a pool hall. All my friends went to the pool hall. New York style little takeout Chinese place. sat there, answered the phone because they couldn't speak English. Worked about 3 hours, maybe on a Friday night, got like 15, $20. Smelt like it. The Chinese place I went into smelt like it. Not just like an normal Chinese, smelt like this takeout place. And for a second, I breathed in and I thought I was like 16 again, 15, whatever I was. And it was very nostalgic. And it's funny because maybe this was in my head, this thing, but that's what it's about.
That's what it is.
I just took a really long way around everything, but that's what this is about. It's, if you were in your 20s, for everybody out there, and they were in their early 20s and they maybe were in a relationship with whoever it may be, and you look back at that relationship, you think to yourself, boy, like I really miss that person. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. You know, I'm with somebody now, it's great, but you know, whatever it might be. It's not the person you miss. It's you miss. Because when you were in your early 20s, life was different. It was better. Your friends seemed better. Your clothes fit better. You know, everything was a little bit better. And that's what this is about. This is, he's walking back in time and he wants to get there and relive it and help the person out. But yeah, I'm rambling now.
Hello, this is Chuck to remind Bill to shut up.
So go ahead.
No, it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. And you actually, obviously you didn't know, but you led it into, I think our favorite scenes are next, correct?
Yes. Let's get into those
yeah. You set me up. So thank you.
He compiled all the best boner scenes, I guess.
Because what you were just talking about, I like that conversation between Martin and his dad. And I'm going to quote it because Rod Serling wrote this dialogue. It's so well. And again, this is Rod Serling. I guess we all want that, said Sloan the elder. Maybe when you go back, you'll find there are merry-go-rounds and band concerts where you are. You've been looking behind you, Martin. Try looking ahead. I mean, he's basically saying hey, it was all good back then, but look for the cotton candy, look for the carousels now. And waterworks every time that scene. It's tough, especially with, people who have lost their parents, a father. It is the scene. It is don't hold on to the past, and it's a great place. It's a great place to look at. It's a great place to reminisce, but there's good stuff out there. And that is one of my favorite scenes in the entire series.
Well, it's mine too. And I have that written down as well. I don't know how it couldn't be. I would say not only, well, you just said the entire series, right? Did you just say that? The entire
I said
series?
one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I totally agree. If you watch from that carousel when he gets off, talks to his father, incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. And
not ashamed to say
it hits home. It's is it a feel good? I actually think so, in a sense. It's maybe not feel good, but maybe a positive message. Let's just say, because you're absolutely right. You don't look forward. You look ahead because there's no use looking forward. You look back, you're going to trip. And there's nothing you can do about what was before. You learn from it, you go, but you have to look at the bright side ahead of you.
And how good was the camera operating, the lighting in that scene when it's it just, everybody, we talk about the writing, we talk about the score, we do, and we will. Well, just the camera, the camera work, the directing, the lighting, everything for that scene, but just throughout the whole series. But you look at that conversation and how the light shines kind of on Frank over the father's face is great, almost like he's an angel.
And obviously, I think that was probably another symbol right there. You know, I'm sure they did it for a reason, to be like, oh, focus right here. I'm talking to you. It was a beautiful episode, but there's one question I have for you, Doc, while we're on this a little bit. Was it established that because of like the first line, was he a bad guy or a good guy? Because he doesn't come off like a bad guy, but right when you watch it right off the bat, you're like, oh, it's going to be one of these.
He's a jerk at the first one, but he was a jerk when he first got to the gas station, honking the horn. But
then he wasn't.
All of a sudden, it was that mirror. It was that mirror. Then he's like, oh, you know what? No, I'll walk. Is that walking distance? Sure, I'll go. And then like he was happy. So was he a good guy? I think he, like, that opening scene was just, he was burnt out. And
he apologized very quickly.
He did.
And I was confused. I was like, because most of the movies we see now or TV shows, they really set a precedence of it's
a bad guy or a good guy.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I'm gonna change overnight. Yeah. Which made him more realistic that you put it like that. Because that's how I kind of put it, where I've been there and I'm not anybody in particular. And I've been there, like I've gone back home and been somewhere where I'm just like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not that guy coming back home and being the jerk now. You're just tired. You just traveled.
Yep. And that's what is so compelling, that he's an average guy. He's not overly aggressive. He's just an average guy, and that's what makes this episode so compelling.
That's great. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes right now, and I have the big star. You know, the dad tells him to look forward. I guess that was. I think everybody got that one, huh, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, but you know, some could say, I don't know. And if everybody out there watching, if they have their favorite scenes, or you know, if you have a better actor, different actor, let us know. Always like to take a look at that kind of stuff, because
I think it's fun. It's fun.
There's really no wrong answer,
even between them, even besides us. Like they can talk with each other. Like, well, let's have a community here. It'd be fun. All right. So, what about influences?
You are the bad influences.
No, you can't do the same thing twice. And I don't want to talk about it verbatim, but that's pretty much where I think I didn't pick out a particular older show or movie, except book Alice in Wonderland. But
yeah, you're talking the ones that influenced this. Anything you can think of that, like maybe somebody is just watching it the first time has seen that you think this influenced. How about that?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think anything where a movie it's actually a half decent movie with Nicolas Cage called Family Man.
I took the road less traveled.
And fate.
What? Him?
I think that's what it's called. Where it's any movie where you can look how jerk you are, and it almost goes back to A Christmas Carol, where hey, I've got to do something. I got to do some things different.
Yeah, very, very common theme. Peggy Sue got married, obviously.
Yes.
Back to the Future in a big way.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Peggy Sue Got Married is a good one.
No, why I love you like I do. No, why I do.
Yeah, any of the Freaky Friday knockoffs, which are thousands of them, basically. I guess would be that, like, oh, they get a chance to change something or anything. But I want to bring up one. It's not exactly a classic, but it kind of reminds me of it a little bit. Is Mr. Destiny? Do you remember Mr. Destiny with Michael Keaton?
You know what? That just became available on Amazon Prime, and I saw that in the movie theater. That's that is the lesser of Belushi's. I think it's his best role.
Well, you see, Larry, one's destiny is a very complicated thing. Every incident in a person's life affects everything else that follows it. Instead of missing the baseball, however, you hit it. Then you became a hero, married the prom queen, and so on, and so forth.
Michael Caine, I believe, is in it. Michael Caine is like
Michael Caine's Destiny,
the fairy godfather or what have you.
Yeah. I think he's Destiny. I think he's the
It's a great, and that's a good pull.
Yeah, because because of just like, well, what if you did change your? It's almost if Martin stayed where he was and told everybody what was going to happen, how young Martin might not have ended up okay.
Sure.
Right. I mean, if he hit the baseball, Mr. Destiny. But I thought it was funny because I really thought of that of all of them. I was like, well, it's kind of a lesson. Instead of Mr. Destiny, it would be Michael Caine telling Belushi there, going, Jim Belushi,
Jim, thank you.
Yeah, Jim, being like, hey, no, you're not going to hit the ball because your life is fine right now.
Yeah, and he didn't even know. He didn't even know. That's great because it's gets back to the father's telling Martin, or I'm sorry, that, hey, stop living in the past.
Well,
stop living about that home run that you hit.
And he also didn't want to know anything. He didn't want to be like you're not the Martin I know. You're gone. Like, you go live your life.
Yeah.
You go.
And a great thing that the dad didn't want to know anything. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Because you think about it, be like, whoa, what stock's going to hit? It's like, no, he won't be the same person if he hits that stock.
And we'll get into those Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah. Who's going to win at Delaware Park in the second race? He'd be like, I don't know.
A Most Unusual Camera. That's a great. Can't wait for that one. I know that's one of your favorites.
I'm excited. Anything to sum it up. I think we really hit this one. We've been going a while here.
Yeah,
there's so much to talk about because it's so relatable, and I know I went on and on about things, but I think this is what everybody our age, Doc, can sit here. Like I said, you could play this in front of any intellectual people. Let's just say people that are going to watch it and listen to it. And they were going to sit down and have a conversation about it if somebody started it, being like, well, what if you could? And they'll tell you about their town. They'll tell you about how they were when they were a kid, and maybe what they tell them if they were a kid, or what would you do if you had it back? What would you do different?
It's something that everyone has in common. They all have a hometown, and that's exactly what's on the statue, is that everyone has a hometown. Binghamton just happens to be mine. Something to that extent is exactly what's on the Serling statue in Recreation Park.
What a great! I'm not surprised. What a fantastic line.
Yeah. Yep.
Unbelievable. All right, Doc. So I guess we covered Walking Distance. We're on a roll here, buddy.
Well, now comes. Let's put the proof where the pudding is. Rating. What do you have?
Well, who are you to judge me?
I would say, I hate to say this, Doc, and I'm mad that I got to go before you. I'm going straight 9. Right off the thing, I'm going 9. I don't even know. I'm going to watch them all again to see if anything beats it. Maybe I'm just that age. Maybe I'm just that person that thinks this is so beautiful. Feels like it's 10 minutes. It's too quick.
Oh, God, yeah, it does.
I love it. I wish this could be almost a 2-hour movie, even though, like, what are they going to do? But
that's what makes it so perfect.
I'm going solid 9. And one day we'll go back through all these after I see them all, and maybe it'll be a 10.
We'll do a re-rate.
Never going to be 9. I'm going 9. 9.
Well, we've mentioned one thing. I love this episode. What I can't give it a 10 because of the children actors.
This is Ron Howard's first Oscar.
And they were just, you had mentioned they were just so bad. The story, the dialogue obviously is great. I'm going to give a few episodes a 10. Is this the perfect episode? No, but God damn it, I'm going to give this a 10.
You're giving it a 10. That's for you, Ron Howard. You screwed it up, and Doc's still giving you a 10.
I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for this.
man, we're talking about this for an hour, and I could talk about it for an hour more. And it's just perfect. And maybe
it really is. It's oddly so simple. And I hate when I use that word, but it's beautiful. It's simply beautiful.
It is. Yeah. With the exception of the child actors, and I'm going to give him a mulligan on that one. It's a great episode, and it's a 10. There's going to be a few 10s. I'm the teacher everybody wants because I'm giving higher scores than you are here, Buck. You're tough.
Yeah,
you're a tougher teacher than I am.
I'm used to getting low scores on everything, so
I never got a high score. That's why I'm giving them out.
Yeah. Yeah, we both have different philosophies of it, but the same angle. Yeah. Hey, I can't argue with a 10 on that one. I really can't. I really can't. And like I said, if I revisit it, it might be a 10. I'm just trying. I'm going on Twilight Zone criteria, right? And I don't think I've researched all of them enough. I've watched them.
Fine.
So I'm going 9 right now. I'm going solid 9.
Solid 9.
Solid 9. If Burgess Meredith was in it, it would have been a 10, but he wasn't. What if Burgess Meredith was the father? 10. 10 for me. 10 and a half. No, the father was great. I can't knock that.
Yeah, I think he would pull away from the great acting of Gig Young.
Yeah,
let's get back to Gig Young. So we'll put that on the docket.
Absolutely. We do have to get back to that. All right. There it is. Walking distance total. That's a 19. That's strong for us. Yeah, that's a 19 combined. That's strong. That's strong. And you know what we're going to do, Doc, I think, which would be fun for everybody out there? We're going to rate the seasons. We're going to add up all our things for the seasons and see which season rates the best. That'll be fun, too.
I like it.
We'll have that. I mean, the great thing about numbers, we can just add them up and stupid, silly stuff like that.
Oh,
there it is. All right. Walking distance. All done. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe while you're at it. We'll see you later, everybody.
Give me the ball, Augie. Give me the ball. Bad dog.